Elvis tried to teach Sammy a secret move. What happened next made the king laugh until he cried. The Flamingo Hotel, Las Vegas, July 19, 1969. 2:47 a.m. The casino floor was still buzzing with drunken laughter and the rattle of dice, but backstage in Rehearsal Room C, something impossible was happening. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, was on his knees laughing so hard he couldn't breathe. And Sammy Davis Jr., Mr. Entertainment himself, was standing in the middle of the room, completely mortified, his shirt soaked with sweat, looking at his own feet like they'd betrayed him. What had just happened in that room would become one of the most legendary moments in Vegas history. A moment that neither man ever spoke about publicly. A moment that started with Elvis trying to teach Sammy something no one thought Sammy Davis Jr. needed to learn: how to move like Elvis. This is the untold story of the night the king tried to teach the master. And what happened when perfection met ego, when two legends collided, and when the greatest entertainer of a generation discovered he couldn't do something. Let's rewind. Let's go back 6 hours. Because this story doesn't start with laughter. It starts with an insult. July 18, 1969, 8:30 p.m. Sammy Davis Jr. was finishing his second show at the Sands. The audience was on their feet. The applause was deafening. Sammy took his bow, flashed that million-dollar smile, and walked off stage drenched in sweat and glory. Backstage, his manager Cy Marsh was waiting with a message. "Elvis wants to see you," Sammy's eyebrows lifted. "The king wants an audience with Mr. Entertainment? How gracious of him," Cy smirked. "He's at the Flamingo, rehearsing for his residency. Said he wanted to show you something." "Show me what?" "Didn't say, just said you'd want to see it." Sammy was intrigued. He and Elvis had mutual respect. They'd crossed paths dozens of times, shared stages, shared friends, but they'd never been close. Not like Sammy and Frank, or Sammy and Dean. Elvis existed in his own orbit. The king. Untouchable. Perfect. And Sammy, well, Sammy was Mr. Entertainment, the man who could do everything. Sing, dance, act, play instruments, do impressions, tell jokes. If there was a stage skill, Sammy had mastered it. So what could Elvis possibly show him that he hadn't already perfected? At 9:15 p.m., Sammy arrived at the Flamingo. He was escorted through the backstage corridors by one of Elvis's guys, Red West. Big man, loyal, didn't say much. They reached Rehearsal Room C. Red knocked twice, then opened the door. Inside, Elvis was standing in front of a full-length mirror, wearing black slacks and a half-unbuttoned white shirt. His hair was perfect, his face was focused. And he was moving, not dancing, moving. That signature Elvis move, the hip swivel, the leg shake, the way he could make his entire body seem liquid and dangerous at the same time. Sammy stood in the doorway watching. He had to admit it. Elvis moved like no one else. It wasn't technique, it wasn't choreography. It was something primal, something that couldn't be taught. Or so Sammy thought. Elvis saw him in the mirror, smiled, stopped moving. "Sammy Davis Jr.," Elvis drawled, turning around. "The man himself." "Elvis Presley," Sammy replied, walking in. "The legend himself." They shook hands. Elvis's grip was firm, confident. "Thanks for coming, Sam." "You said you wanted to show me something?" Elvis grinned. "Yeah, something I've been working on. Thought maybe you'd want to learn it." Sammy raised an eyebrow. "Learn it?" "Yeah, you know, add it to your repertoire." There was a pause. A long pause. Because what Elvis had just said, without realizing it, was the most insulting thing anyone could say to Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. didn't learn moves from other people. Sammy Davis Jr. invented moves. He'd been performing since he was 3 years old. He'd tap danced with Bill Bojangles Robinson. He'd studied under the greatest performers in vaudeville. He could mimic anyone, do impressions of Sinatra, Dean, Jerry Lewis, Cary Grant, James Cagney. anyone. But Elvis didn't know that. Or maybe he did, and this was a challenge. Sammy smiled, that dangerous smile, the smile that said, "Oh, you want to play? All right, King," Sammy said, taking off his jacket. "Show me what you got." Elvis's grin widened. He gestured to the mirror. "Come here, stand next to me." Sammy walked over, stood beside Elvis. They looked at themselves in the mirror. Two legends, two completely different styles. "Okay," Elvis said. "This is the move. You ready?" "Born ready." Elvis started moving. Slowly at first, a subtle shift in his hips, a roll through his pelvis. His knees bent slightly, his weight transferred from one leg to the other. And then the shake. That unmistakable Elvis shake. The move that made teenage girls scream and mothers clutch their pearls. It looked effortless. Sammy watched, studied, his mind already breaking down the mechanics. Hips, knees, weight distribution, rhythm. "You see it?" Elvis asked. "I see it." "All right, your turn." Sammy took a breath, positioned himself, bent his knees, shifted his hips, and immediately looked ridiculous. His hips moved, but they moved wrong. Too mechanical, too precise, too Sammy. Elvis bit his lip, trying not to laugh. No, Elvis said. "You're thinking too much. It's not a dance move, it's a feeling." "A feeling?" Sammy repeated. "Yeah, you gotta feel it, from here." Elvis tapped his pelvis. "It's gotta come from your core. Loose, like water." Sammy tried again, looser this time. But it still didn't look right. It looked like Sammy Davis Jr. doing an impression of Elvis Presley. Which is exactly what it was. Elvis laughed. "Sam, you're doing me. Don't do me, do the move." "I am doing the move." "No, you're doing me doing the move. There's a difference." Sammy stopped, stared at Elvis. "What the hell does that mean?" Elvis walked over, stood behind Sammy, put his hands on Sammy's hips. "Relax," Elvis said. "You're too tight. You're used to tap. Everything in tap is control, precision. This is the opposite. This is chaos." "Chaos? Controlled chaos." Elvis moved Sammy's hips manually. Left, right, roll. "Feel that?" "I feel you manhandling me." Elvis burst out laughing, stepped back. All right, try it again." Sammy tried again, and again, and again, and every single time it looked wrong. Not bad, just wrong. It didn't look like Elvis, it looked like Sammy trying to be Elvis. And that's when it hit him. Sammy Davis Jr., the man who could do anything, couldn't do this. He couldn't be Elvis. "I can't do it," Sammy said, breathless, frustrated. "Come on, Sam, you're the greatest entertainer alive. You can do anything." "Apparently not this." Elvis saw the frustration in Sammy's face. The genuine, real frustration. And he realized something. This wasn't about the move, this was about identity. "Sam," Elvis said gently, "you want to know why you can't do it? Enlighten me." "Because you're trying to move like me." "But you're not me. You're Sammy Davis Jr." Sammy looked at him. "When I move like this," Elvis continued, "I'm being me, Elvis, the white boy from Memphis who grew up listening to gospel and blues and didn't know he wasn't supposed to move like that. But you move like Harlem, like vaudeville, like tap and swing and jazz. You move like Sammy. And that's why you can't move like me, because we're not the same." There was a long silence. Then Sammy started laughing. Not a fake laugh. A real laugh. Deep and genuine. "You're telling me," Sammy said, "that the reason I can't do your move is because I'm too good at being myself?" Elvis grinned. "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's the dumbest, most profound thing I've ever heard." "Welcome to my brain, Sam." They both laughed. Then Sammy said, "All right, your turn." "My turn for what?" "To try one of my moves." Elvis's smile faltered. Come on, King. Fair is fair." Sammy walked to the center of the room, cleared some space. "Let's see you do a basic time step." Elvis looked genuinely terrified. "A what?" "A time step. Basic tap move. Every hoofer knows it." "Sam, I don't tap." "Exactly. So let's see what happens when the king tries to move like Mr. Entertainment." Elvis hesitated. Then, slowly, he walked to the center of the room. "Show me," Elvis said. Sammy demonstrated. "A simple time step. Shuffle, step, step. Shuffle, step, step. Basic rhythm." Elvis watched, nodded. "All right, I got it." He tried. And it was a disaster. His feet tangled, his rhythm was off. He looked like a baby deer trying to walk for the first time. Sammy doubled over laughing. "Shut up," Elvis said, but he was laughing too. "You look like you're having a seizure." "I don't know what I'm doing." "Clearly," Elvis tried again. Worse this time. He actually stumbled. Caught himself on a chair. Sammy was crying from laughter. "The king, ladies and gentlemen, the king of rock and roll can't do a basic time step." "You know what?" Elvis said, laughing so hard he could barely speak. "You're right. I can't. I absolutely cannot do that." They both collapsed. Elvis sat on the floor, back against the wall, laughing. Sammy sat across from him, wiping tears from his eyes. "We're ridiculous," Sammy said. "Completely ridiculous," Elvis agreed. They sat there for a moment. Two legends. Two masters, both realizing they weren't masters of everything. "You know what the funny thing is?" Elvis said. "What?" "We're both the best in the world at what we do. And we can't do each other's thing." Sammy nodded. "That's because we're not supposed to." Elvis looked at him. "You're Elvis," Sammy continued. "I'm Sammy. We don't need to be each other. The world already has one of each of us. That's enough." Elvis smiled, a real smile. Yeah, it is." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Elvis said, "You know what I've always envied about you, Sam?" "What?" "You can do everything. Sing, dance, act, instruments, comedy. You're the most versatile entertainer I've ever seen." Sammy was surprised. "You envy me?" "Hell yes, I envy you. I can do one thing. I can move and sing. That's it. But you? You're the whole package." Sammy shook his head. "You know what I envy about you?" "What?" "You're free when you move. You don't think, you just are. I've spent my whole life perfecting every move, every note, every word. But you just exist, and that's why people love you." Elvis looked at Sammy with genuine appreciation. "We're both idiots." "Certified." They laughed again. At 3:15 a.m., they finally left the rehearsal room. Walked out into the Vegas night. The Strip was still alive. Neon lights. Music. Laughter. "Thanks for coming, Sam," Elvis said. "Thanks for the lesson." "What lesson?" "I didn't teach you anything." "Yes, you did." Sammy looked at him. "You taught me that even Mr. Entertainment can't do everything. And that's okay." Elvis smiled. "And you taught me that even the king can't tap. And that's okay too." They shook hands. A real handshake. The kind that meant something. "See you around, King. See you around, Mr. Entertainment." The story of what happened in Rehearsal Room C stayed quiet for years. Neither man spoke about it publicly, but the people who were there, Red West, Charlie Hodge, they remembered. They remembered the night two legends tried to be each other and failed beautifully. Because here's the truth that no one talks about. Being great doesn't mean being everything. It means being yourself so completely, so authentically, that no one else can do what you do. Elvis couldn't move like Sammy. Sammy couldn't move like Elvis. And that's exactly how it should be. That night, in Vegas, two masters learned the same lesson. You don't become a legend by copying greatness. You become a legend by being undeniably, unapologetically yourself. Elvis Presley was the king because he moved like Elvis. Sammy Davis Jr. was Mr. Entertainment because he moved like Sammy. And the world was better for having both. That's the untold legacy. Not perfection, not versatility, but authenticity. The courage to be yourself, even when you can't be anyone else.